What is the reason why your English listening skills are not as good as you want them to be? Well, the answer is because you need to practice a lot more. And that is what we are doing right here, right now. 5 minutes of British English listening practice. Today, the topic is buses. Now, that sounds like quite a boring topic, doesn't it? So let's try not to make it too boring. So when I think of the word bus, what instantly comes to mind is one of the red double-decker buses that are stereotypical of London. And I'm thinking of one where the top deck or the upper deck is roofless, or it is open air. And I don't think I've ever been on one actually, but they look pretty cool. I have been on a red double-decker bus in London, but it was nighttime and it had a roof, so it wasn't an open-air bus. So it was just like a normal bus. And I've been on a lot of double-decker buses before. I used to travel to and from college on a double-decker bus, and it took over an hour each way. So I've spent a lot of time on a double-decker bus. They're not very comfy and they're very loud. It's difficult to sleep on one because the window's rattling and it's loud. So buses aren't really that fun. Not that kind of bus anyway, like a bus designed for going around the city. Those buses aren't that fun, but I guess they are the most economical way to travel. Maybe not the quickest, maybe not the most efficient, but I guess the cheapest. I'm going to include coaches in this topic as well. So a coach is a much bigger bus, one that is used for much longer journeys. You can get double-decker coaches, but they really aren't as common. I've also spent a lot of time on coaches, so especially in other countries when I've been traveling a very long distance, I have used a coach. And I've done quite a lot of overnight journeys on a coach as well. And again, they are not very comfortable. They are a lot more comfortable than a normal bus because the seats are a lot more comfortable. And you do get some coaches where the seats recline. So they recline, they go back quite far. I remember in Brazil, in particular, there were some seats that reclined very far back, and that was quite comfortable. I did see some buses, though, in Brazil where the top deck had seats that reclined relatively far, but downstairs they had either some small beds or seats that reclined all the way back so you could lie flat. They looked pretty comfortable. I think they're quite common in some countries in Eastern Asia as well, but I'm not too sure on that. Don't quote me on that one, but I would like to try that. I wonder how comfortable that is. I guess if you've got a particularly winding road, then it would be quite difficult to sleep, I'm guessing. But I have spent a lot of time on buses. Thankfully, I've never had a really bad experience on buses. I've never had anything stolen. I don't think I've ever missed a bus. I have. No, I haven't. I'm thinking when I was in year 7, there was a school trip to France and a school trip to Spain, and you could choose which one you went on. And I went to France, but I remember the bus that went to Spain had an absolute nightmare. So the air conditioning broke, and I think it was very, very hot that week that they went. And I think it was a massive struggle. I think it took over 30 hours for them to reach their destination. I think some kids were ill and throwing up on the bus. So they had a bit of a nightmare, but thankfully I had a rather smooth, rather seamless journey. Have you ever had a travel disaster when it comes to buses and coaches? Let me know in the comments. Thank you guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you back here tomorrow.